Welcome back to EVE Online everyone, I'm KPlays Games. Today I'm going to take you through a quick guide to combat exploration, specifically in high security space. Right, what is combat exploration? Well, it's an alternative PvE solo activity to running missions for agents or running Abyssal Dead Space sites. Missions pay is relatively low, but it's at least consistent, but it only really starts paying well at higher levels, and to reach these higher levels you have to grind a lot of lower level missions, and I mean a lot of them. Level 4 mission agents are not even available to alpha players at all, so you're capped at level 3, which reduces your income. Higher level missions also require a good ship along the line of a battle cruiser or a battleship or something similar. Abyssal Dead Space sites are very high risk due to the timed nature and the cannot escape nature of the sites. Abyssal income is fairly random, and along with missions it only really gets good at the higher levels, and higher level Abyssal sites require a rather expensive ship, and no matter how many Abyssals you've run previously and how good you think you are at them, the random nature of the sites will eventually kill you, and you will lose your expensive ship and your pod and all your implants. Different to both of those, combat exploration can be done from day 1 of your EVE life, no standings or expensive ships required. A Tech 1 frigate or destroyer can run most of the sites I'll be talking about today, and a Tech 1 cruiser can run pretty much every combat site in high security space, with one exception which I'll come to later on in the video. Combat exploration has the potential for extremely good rewards, but is even more random in terms of payout than Abyssal Dead Space. There are two ways of doing combat exploration, and the one we'll be discussing today in this first video is running combat anomalies. Combat anomalies are small single room sites which feature multiple small waves of enemies to fight and destroy, with the site being complete when the final ship in the final wave is cleared. To find these sites, you simply come down here and click the scanners button and move your mouse to the left and open the probe scanner, or the hotkey for that is Alt-P. If there are any combat sites, and as we can see there are combat sites in this system, they will instantly appear at 100% and you'll be able to warp to them straight away. Keep in mind that these sites are public, so everyone in the entire system will see the same list as you're seeing, and you probably will encounter players running the same sites as you. When a site is completed, it despawns and disappears from this list and then respawns somewhere else in the same region, so they do constantly refresh themselves, so if you travel around you'll be able to get a more or less never-ending supply of them. Now, which one of these sites do you want to do? Well, there's all different sizes and difficulty levels. In orders of difficulty, the pirate sites are Hideaway, Burrow, Refuge and Den. Hideaways and burrows feature frigates only. Refuges is frigates and destroyers and a couple of gun turrets, and dens can be just frigates and destroyers and gun turrets, or it can also feature cruisers at some times as well. On top of this, there are 3 further variations of the Hideaway. We have one of them in this system. They are the Hidden, the Forsaken and the Forlorn versions, which are all considerably harder than basic Hideaway. These variations feature frigates, destroyers, cruisers, and some of them even have warp jamming elite frigates, so don't go into these unprepared. The rogue drone anomalies, which we have some of in this system, are, in order of difficulty, Cluster, Collection, Assembly and Gathering. These are roughly analogous to the Hideaway, Refuge, Burrow and Den. All of these sites will provide you with bounty pay for every ship you kill. See, this slave hunter's worth 6,500, not very much. So you will get some bounty from that. It's roughly the same as level 1 or level 2 missions. But that's not really what we run them for. Every combat site has a 5% chance for a commander ship to spawn as part of the final wave. Now, these commanders have a different name to all the other ships, so they're quite easy to identify. We haven't got one on this site yet. The names for all the different pirates are, for Serpentis, this is Shadow Serpentis. For Gurista, it's Dread Guristas. For Blood Raider, it's Dark Blood. Angel Cartel is Domination. Sancha is True Sancha. And for Rogue Drones, it's a Sentient Drone. You will get some minor loot from some of the wrecks, but again, that's not really what we're looking for. Commanders will always drop some kind of loot in their wreck, which can be worthless stuff like faction ammo and little dog tags that you sell, or it can be extremely expensive faction and dead space modules or blueprints for ships and implants and modules. And some of these loot drops, as I said, can be extremely valuable. This is kinda what we're looking for. Now we can run all the burrows and collections and assemblies and everything else and hope we get a commander, and we will. 5% of the time we'll spawn a commander in these sites, and then you hope that the dice roll on the loot table is generous. But there's another reason for running specific sites, because some specific combat anomalies have an additional 5% chance to provide you with a bookmark to another larger combat site, which you'll find listed on Agency, Exploration, Escalations. So we have one we got yesterday. It's in low security, so I'm not going to go and run that. But this is where you'll find them all. These bookmarks only last for 24 hours, so you can't really hang around. You really have to run them on the day you get them. These sites are ranked from 1 to 10 in terms of difficulty, but from the anomalies you'll find in HighSec, strangely you will only ever be awarded either a 3 out of 10, a 4 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10 site. 3 out of 10s only allow cruisers as the maximum size of the ship, 4s will allow a battle cruiser in the gate, and 5s will allow battleships. This is just a very rough guide as to how difficult they are. Each one for each of the different pirate factions is completely different, so I'll link a comprehensive guide to each of these sites below. I've been filming each variation of these sites as I find them and uploading them to this channel, so eventually I'll re-edit like a proper playlist of just the combat sites so you know exactly what you're doing. Now these 5 out of 10s I mentioned are the exception to the Tech 1 cruiser can run everything rule I mentioned earlier. 5 out of 10s are no joke, they require an extremely good ship. Something along the lines of a very well fitted battleship or a Tech 2 heavy assault cruiser. If I had the choice, I'd take a heavy assault cruiser, so that tells you everything you need to know about these sites, so pretty extreme. Now all of these different sites consist of multiple rooms connected via acceleration gates with a guaranteed commander ship or commander structure in the final room, and that will drop the main loot drop in the site. Again, these loot drops can be worth several 100 million. A lot of these sites also have extra commanders in the previous rooms before you get to the final room, so these sites can be very lucrative indeed. Which site you are awarded relies on which combat anomaly you ran. This is not standardised for every region of space. Brace yourselves everyone, there's going to be an info dump. In the Amar regions of the Void, Domain, Tashmir Khan and the Amateur Mandate region of Derelict, Sancha are the naturally spawning pirates, and the Sancha Hideaway and Sancha Refuge combat sites will both provide you with a 3 out of 10 site as a reward. Now, Hideaway only covers the basic Hideaway, it doesn't cover the Hidden, Forsaken or Forlorn versions. None of these others will give you the escalation. Sancha Dens will give you a 5 out of 10. In the Galente regions of Essence, Every Shore, Placid, Saint-Claison, Solitude and Verge Vendor, the Serpentis Hideaway and Serpentis Refuge will both provide you with a 3 out of 10 site, and the Serpentis Den will provide you a 5 out of 10 site. Back in the Amar Empire, in the regions of Aridia, the Bleaklands, Genesis, Kador, Canid and Corazor, the Blood Raider Refuge will provide you with a 4 out of 10 site. Now, the Blood Raider Hideaway does not provide any escalation. Blood Dens will provide you with a 5 out of 10. In the Caldari regions of Black Rise, the Citadel, the Forge and Lone Trek, the Garista Hideaway and Refuge will both provide you with a 4 out of 10 site, and the Garista Den will provide a 5 out of 10. And finally, in the Minmatar regions of Hymatar, Metropolis and Malden Heath, Angel Refuges will provide you with a 5 out of 10 site. Angel Hideaways do not provide any escalation at all, and Angel Dens will also provide you with a 5 out of 10. So what can we glean from this massive info dump? If you want to find more 3 out of 10 sites because that's all you're confident in running, then you can move to either Sancha or Serpentis Base and run Hideaway and Refuge sites. If you want more 4 out of 10s, you can run Garista Hideaway and Refuges or just Blood Refuges. If you're really good and you think you can handle lots of 5 out of 10s, you can go to Minmatar Space and run Angel Refuges. You can run Dens of any faction and get awarded a 5 out of 10 site, but Dens are rather rare because they only spawn in systems with a security rating of 0.6 or 0.5, so that limits the systems in which they spawn, so they are quite rare. Now, I haven't mentioned any of the drone anomalies so far, and that's because none of them provide any escalations at all, and neither do the burrows of any faction. So the drone assembly, cluster, collection, gathering and burrows and the Hideaway variants are only ever run for the 5% chance of a commander, but because they don't provide escalations, hardly anybody runs them because everyone would rather get a bigger combat site with a guaranteed commander at the end and not waste time running sites that won't provide an escalation. This does give you an opening because it means that you'll find lots of them. As we can see here, there's 3 burrows, 2 clusters, a collection and an assembly in this system alone because nobody runs them, so you could quite easily run these and you might be able to get a few commanders. I mean, the commanders will still drop good things every now and then. One decent method of finding these sites is to open the map with F10 and then plot yourself a big circular route starting at your home base and going in a big circle and then coming back, and then you just leave the scanner window open and you run every site you wish. That's a good way of doing it. So that more or less brings us to the end of this first part of the video. I could talk about the other method of combat exploration in this video as well, but that will just confuse you. I've given you a lot of information to mull over. As I said, I'll provide links to everything I've been talking about down in the description in the video, and in part 2 I'll actually talk about using probe launchers to find more different sites. So hope you come back for that, and until then, take good care of yourself and I'll see you later.